The debate is over. It's been over since Qatar.
This means the world to Messi.
But some people needed one more piece of evidence before they'd accept it. Some people needed Messi to do it again, at an age where most footballers are retired, on a stage where excuses don't exist against opponents who have prepared specifically to stop him. On June 17, 2026, in Kansas City, Missouri, Lionel Messi gave them that evidence and then gave them two more just to make sure nobody could argue.
Messi flying forward. Lionel Messi!
3 goals. Argentina 3, Algeria 0. A hat trick on his 200th cap, his first ever World Cup hat trick. 16 career World Cup goals, level with Miroslav Klose for the all-time record. 24 World Cup goal contributions, past Pelé for the all-time record. All of this at the age of 38 in his 6th World Cup. 20 years to the day since he made his World Cup debut as a teenager against Serbia and Montenegro in Germany. And while Messi was doing all of that a few hundred miles away on a different television screen, Cristiano Ronaldo was drawing 1-1 with the Democratic Republic of Congo. That is the GOAT debate in 2026. That is the final frame of the picture. One of them is rewriting history at 38. The other is struggling to beat Congo DR at 41. And if that comparison feels cruel, it's only because the truth is cruel when you've spent 2 decades trying to avoid it. The argument between Messi and Ronaldo is the longest running debate in the history of professional sport. Not just football, all sport. No rivalry between two athletes has ever generated more arguments, more analysis, more emotional investment, and more wasted hours of human energy than the question of whether Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo is the greatest footballer who ever lived. For nearly 20 years, both sides had ammunition. Both sides had statistics. Both sides had moments and trophies and records they could point to and say, this is why my guy is better. The debate survived because it was genuinely close and because both players were genuinely extraordinary. Then Qatar happened. The 2022 World Cup final between Argentina and France is the greatest football match ever played. That's not an opinion. That's a consensus that has formed across every corner of the sport in the years since it was played. Messi scored twice. He set up the opening goal. He converted his penalty in the shootout. He dragged Argentina from 2-0 up to 2-2 down, back to 3-3, and then threw penalties to lift the one trophy that his career had been defined by the absence of. When Messi lifted the World Cup in Qatar, the debate didn't shift. It ended. Not because Ronaldo isn't an extraordinary player, he is, but because the World Cup is the one competition that football has collectively agreed matters more than everything else combined. And Messi had it, and Ronaldo didn't. The problem was that Ronaldo's fan base refused to accept the verdict, understandably to some extent, because Ronaldo's numbers are staggering and his achievements are historically remarkable, and the idea that one tournament could outweigh 2 decades of sustained individual excellence feels reductive. So the debate continued, not in any substantive way, but in the way that all settled debates continue when one side isn't ready to let go. Social media arguments, cherry-picked statistics, hypothetical scenarios, the noise of denial masquerading as legitimate discussion. Messi's hat trick against Algeria didn't just add to his legacy, it removed the last remaining oxygen from the counter-argument. The first goal came in the 17th minute. Rodrigo de Paul slid a pass into Messi's path, and Messi, on the half-turn without breaking stride, arrowed a shot into the top corner with the kind of technical precision that shouldn't be physically possible at 38 years old. The goalkeeper, Luka Zidane, son of Zinedine Zidane, son of a man who won the World Cup with France in 1998, could only watch the ball fly past him.
Messi flying forward. Lionel Messi!
There is something almost poetic about the fact that Messi opened his 6th World Cup by beating the son of a World Cup winner. Zidane Sr. won the World Cup at 26. His son conceded 3 goals to a 38-year-old who wasn't supposed to still be doing this. The generational nature of Messi's dominance captured in a single frame. The second goal came in the 69th minute. Alexis McAllister drove a shot from distance that Zidane parried, and Messi was there, standing exactly where he needed to be. As if he'd known before the shot was taken where the rebound would fall, he steered it in with his right foot. His weaker foot casually.
Deflection high from range. Big deflection! Got it home!
The goal of a player who has spent so long operating at the highest level that even the improvised moments look choreographed. The third goal came in the 76th minute, and it was the one that mattered most. Messi received the ball on the edge of the box, shifted it onto his left foot, and curled a shot inside the far post with the composure of someone taking a penalty in an empty training ground. The net rippled. The stadium in Kansas City lost its mind. Messi had just equaled Miroslav Klose's all-time World Cup goal-scoring record. 16 goals across 6 tournaments, spanning 20 years of football. A record that Klose set in 2014 and that most people assumed would stand for decades. Messi matched it at 38 years old in his first game of a tournament that many genuinely questioned whether he'd be fit enough to start. He was substituted 2 minutes later. The entire stadium in Kansas City rose to its feet. Not just the Argentine fans, everyone. The standing ovation lasted longer than some of his goals. Even Algerian supporters in the crowd stood and applauded because what they had just witnessed transcended the result and transcended the rivalry between two nations. They had watched a 38-year-old man produce the single greatest individual performance of the 2026 World Cup so far, and refusing to acknowledge it would have been an insult to the sport itself. Here's the detail that makes the hat trick feel written by a screenwriter rather than produced by real life. The goals came 20 years to the day that Messi made his World Cup debut for Argentina in a match against Serbia and Montenegro in 2006. He scored in that match, too. 20 years later, same tournament, same stage, same result. The symmetry is so perfect that if you put it in a movie script, a producer would reject it for being unrealistic. After the match, Argentina's coach Lionel Scaloni stood in front of the press and tried to find words. He couldn't. At a loss for words about Leo, he said, "What can I say? He's incredible," and that was the most honest assessment anyone could offer because the performance wasn't just good. It was historically significant. Messi became the oldest player to score multiple goals in a World Cup match, surpassing Roger Milla's record from 1990. He became the first player in history to appear in 6 World Cups. He set the all-time record for World Cup goal contributions at 24, passing Pelé. These are not incremental additions to a career. These are the kind of records that redefine where a player sits in the permanent hierarchy of the sport. Now compare that to what happened to Ronaldo in the same week. Portugal played the Democratic Republic of Congo on June 17th. Ronaldo started. Portugal drew 1-1. Ronaldo didn't score. He is 41 years old, playing at his 6th World Cup, and in his opening match of the tournament, he couldn't beat a team ranked 67th in the world. The contrast is not subtle. It is not a matter of interpretation. It is the cold mathematical reality of two players who have been compared to each other for 20 years, arriving at the same tournament, and one of them producing a historically significant hat trick, while the other produces a draw against Congo DR. The people who continued the GOAT debate after Qatar did so, on the basis that Ronaldo's body of work over his entire career was comparable enough to Messi's that one World Cup shouldn't settle the question. That argument required both players to remain at roughly similar levels of performance going forward. The moment one of them clearly separates, the argument collapses. Kansas City was that moment. It was the moment where the trajectory of the two careers diverged so visibly that pretending they were still on the same level became an act of willful delusion rather than legitimate sporting analysis. Messi at 38 is scoring hat tricks against World Cup opposition, with the technical sharpness of a player in his physical prime. His touch is the same, his vision is the same, his ability to find space that other players can't see hasn't diminished by a single percentage point. What has changed is his body. He walks more. He conserves energy more deliberately. He chooses his moments with a ruthlessness that only comes from understanding at a molecular level when to move and when to wait. The hat trick against Algeria wasn't the work of a young player overwhelming opponents with pace and power. It was the work of a mind so far ahead of the game being played around it that the physical decline becomes irrelevant. Ronaldo at 41 is a different story entirely. His body, once the most finely tuned instrument in professional sport, can no longer do what made him exceptional. He doesn't press. He doesn't run behind defenses. He doesn't create the explosive bursts of acceleration that defined his peak years at Real Madrid. What remains is his positioning, his aerial ability, and his determination. Those qualities still produce goals in the Saudi Pro League, where the defensive intensity is lower and the physical demands are reduced. At a World Cup, against teams that have spent weeks preparing specifically to nullify him, those qualities are not enough. The Congo DR result proved it. Portugal's midfield played around him rather than through him. The attack looked more functional when the ball bypassed him entirely. The 41-year-old striker, who no longer presses, is the same tactical problem he was in Qatar, only now he's 4 years older and the legs are 4 years heavier. There is a moment in every great rivalry where the gap becomes permanent. Ali and Frazier, Federer and Nadal, Bird and Magic. At some point, the conversation stops being about who's better right now and starts being about who history will remember as the greater of the two. That moment arrived for Messi and Ronaldo in Qatar. Kansas City confirmed it with the finality of a judge's gavel. Messi will break Klose's record at this World Cup. It might happen in the next game. It might happen in the quarterfinals or the semifinals. But it will happen because Messi at 38 is still operating at a level where World Cup goals are a natural byproduct of his involvement in any match he plays. When he breaks it, he will hold the all-time record for World Cup goals scored, the all-time record for World Cup goal contributions, the record for most World Cup appearances, and he will be the defending champion, trying to win back-to-back titles for the first time since Brazil in 1962. The numbers alone would be enough to settle this, but the numbers have never been what made Messi the greatest. What made Messi the greatest is the quality of the moments, the weight of the stages on which those moments occurred. A hat trick in a World Cup opener at 38, a World Cup final performance at 35 that included 2 goals and an assist in the most dramatic match ever played, a Copa America title in 2021 that broke a 28-year drought for Argentina, a Ballon d'Or career that includes 8 awards to Ronaldo's 5. The moments are bigger, the stages are bigger, the legacy is bigger, and now in Kansas City, in a tournament that both men entered knowing it would be their last, Messi provided the final answer that the debate had been waiting 2 decades to hear. 954 goals, 6 World Cups, 0 World Cup trophies. That is Ronaldo's story, and it is a remarkable story of individual achievement that deserves respect. But the GOAT debate was never about individual achievement in isolation. It was about who the game belongs to when the lights are brightest and the stakes are highest. Messi has answered that question at every opportunity he's been given. He answered it in Qatar with a World Cup final performance for the ages. He answered it in Kansas City with a hat trick at 38 that rewrote the record books, and the answer has never changed. It was always him. It was always going to be him.